Hey, so today I'm speaking with my friend Deb Broadman, and Debbie and I met many years ago, actually, and then became closer during 2020. And Debbie does shamanic healing, and she's a yoga teacher. So, thank you for being here, Debbie.
Thank you for having me here. It's great to see you.
I know it's fun. I guess I don't know. Do you want to like introduce yourself first before we start talking about our history and then your history?
Sure. I'm Debbie, and I have been on this path for many years. I am a yoga teacher, and then in about 2009, 2010, I started to go for some shamanic healings because of some trauma, and I was really drawn to it. And I wound up studying at the Four Winds Light Body School for about 2.5 years. And, my senses began to increase. And then in 2018, on a trip to Sardinia, Italy, things started to open up. It was very peaceful and quiet there. There was no EMFs. And one day I was walking on the beach and I could hear the land, and they were speaking in Italian, and I didn't understand. So I had asked, I told my friends about it. I didn't know one of my friends' channels, and he said, "Tell us more." And it opened up a doorway. I began to channel. I was able to see the past life of this two new friends,
Mhm.
and we coincidentally lived near each other too. So I saw the whole picture of what had happened to us hundreds of years ago unfold in a hazy movie in front of my eyes.
Mhm.
And it continued to happen. It happened throughout the day. And and then I kind of let it be when I got back to the States. But then when I occasionally would happen, I would hug someone and I would have this flash of my head being chopped off in and then a few years after that I would see the whole story. So I've accepted this part of me, and it's now part of my healing work because I can take that essence of an event that may have happened a long time ago and heal that energy from the past so that the current life feels more stabilized, and there is a change in the people that we interact with after those healings. There's almost like a gentleness. So it began, I guess, in 2008.
Yeah.
Excuse me, 2018.
Yeah, but yeah, the beginning of the shamanic experience was like 2008, 2000.
Yes, 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 it was.
Yeah, 2008, 2009 was the beginning of my journey too, actually. That's when I had like that calling to be like a spiritual healer. And I'm like, what the hell? Now what? But that's
Uh,
neat.
I guess a few of us must have started to
Mhm.
awaken to this. I think it's a need. I think we're needed right now.
Well, because like
And
the world shifted and like all of that would like the Mayan prophecy of 2012 being the end of that world that we knew. I think some of us were waking up before that in anticipation of that. And then, it just keeps growing. So
it does.
And so I moved to Westwood in 2015, and I think in 2016 is when I was at that we went to a woman's house. I was a guest speaker or whatever, or leading a meditation, and you were there. And that's our first encounter. So
Yes.
I remember just seeing you sitting on the couch. I was sitting on the floor and I'm like, she's my kind of person. And I would say things, and some of the people there were just like staring at me, like with their deer in headlights, and you'd just be nodding. You just be nodding.
Yes.
Yep, yep. Like, she gets it. So
That was a long time ago. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then we just stayed like Facebook friends or whatever. And then during 2020 with those healing circles, even though I was saying like Reiki people, I think that's I was like calling out to like Reiki healers, and you're like, I'm not a Reiki healer, but I'd like to be a part of this, So, and then
Oh,
we had
oh,
that was our thing. Then it was like you were like the 100% guarantee you'd always be there at those healing circles.
I love them. I would go into the woods that day. I remember they were on Mondays.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go into the woods almost to almost like to clear myself from anything that may have been
Mm-hmm.
a little bit heavy. And I had tremendous visions when we were doing this as a group. And it startled me because it was, I know it was the embodiment of all of us together.
It makes a huge difference.
It was so powerful. And I
It,
knew
it,
we were doing something strong.
it was just so cool. I'm sorry, I'm excited.
No, no, it was an amazing thing. And
It was because it was like the original intention was like, let's send healing to the people that are, having COVID right now, people with COVID, and then the teachers and the hospital workers, and all of that. So that's how it started. And then we were like, I think the earth wants it too. Or like, I think we should include the earth. And then you were like, I think we should do the earth first. And then we should do the people. I'm like, okay. So we changed our format like as we went along to kind of like
yes,
how it led us. And when we included the earth, we all had shared visions that were overlapping and sometimes crossovers totally, and it was just like, what do we do? And then you do research to see what the heck it is that we're seeing and understanding. And that's where the grid work came in. And that's where like the ley
yes,
lines, like that's all that, all those topics might have been peripheral. Like I knew their name, but I didn't really know them. So that kind of
yes,
spurred me to learn more about it. And that's what led me to Amy Dempster and following hawks and all of the healing of the land and stuff. Because we
yes.
seen the grids and you would get these beautiful freaking imagery and messages. And it was always like, let's kick it to Deb to see what Deb had to say. Because everybody
I
else
know.
was, it was nice. Deb's like, Mother Earth, said this or whatever.
It was you was a little funny because I wasn't used to that kind of all right, the spotlight's on you right now.
Yeah,
That
yeah, that
that's always
role. Yeah.
something that was uncomfortable. But then I realized that there was big information coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And my teachers, they're always in reference to the earth first, so it's a tremendous amount of gratitude and out loud gratitude towards the earth. And I think that's when we were doing the work, that was what I was feeling, was that we needed to include the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And the way the shamans do their healing is they call on the mountains and they call on Pachamama, Mother Earth, for the actual transmission of the healing.
Mm-hmm.
And we are the conduit to
Right.
bring that in. Or they'll work with stones, but the stones are representative of, let's say, a mountain in Peru, or they
Mm-hmm.
call them apus. So that was why I was calling in the earth, and then the visuals, they started to get very intense and clear.
And then I think in like May of 2020, like we met at a park and took a walk together and like got to know each other a little bit more, like in person.
Yes, yes,
Um, and then I remember like, cause I was of course, like everybody else, like I have more free time, lots of walks, lots of meditation. And I grabbed my, headphones and like leaned up against a tree and did a meditation. And it was a shamanic journey to the upper world. And I had all this cool thing that I experienced and I shared it with you. And you're like, that's the prophecy. I'm like, what? Like, what?
yes, yes,
So like an eagle and a condor. And you're like, oh my God. And I'm like,
yes.
I didn't even know. Cause I was like, it's so nice to have like, to have your wisdom and experience to kind of call on and like, tell me what it is that I saw. Cause I don't even know that was meaningful. I just thought it was cool.
And what's interesting about that is the prophecy also speaks about, it's the Western white woman that is bringing a lot of this, and that is the eagle. It represents this part of the country, this part of the world is considered the eagle. The condor is from South America,
Right.
but the eagle representing all of these women across North America that are literally waking up. And if you look around, there's mostly female healers here in the Northern Hemisphere. In the Southern Hemisphere, it's mostly male healers. Although the women are very powerful, it's still that patriarchy.
Mm-hmm.
that that is beginning to I guess I don't want to say disassemble because it's important, but we're being noticed now. I guess
And when
I
did
would
you
say
start
that.
studying with your, I forget his name now.
Puma,
Yeah.
Puma, or Tito and Tupac. Um, Both of them in 2020.
Okay.
I knew that there was something much bigger than the coronavirus happening. I didn't know what it was. Um, and I felt that they were great leaders to guide me. And Puma was the first one, and he was so joyful, and he made me feel at peace with what we were going through. And simultaneously, there were two other teachers that I was also working with. And both of them, both sets, I will say, encouraged us to go into the woods, go into nature, be very quiet and still, and listen and ask questions. And that's when I started to hear. I walked into a nearby trail and I heard very clearly that this forest will be your teacher. It'll be a shaman forest. And I was guided to look at the way some old trees had fallen and follow the trail of the trees in the direction they were pointed. And when I did that, I came across this beautiful altar in the woods coming out of a giant boulder. Um, so I started to listen more and I would hear more. But it was the encouragement of those teachers that brought me to the woods, if that made
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah.
And the quiet of 2020 for the, what is it, a year and a half, really helped. I think it helped all of us,
Right.
but especially people that have been practicing healing work. It opened up the doors. It was very quiet. There wasn't a lot going on.
Hmm.
5G wasn't amped up, you know? And I know that we were opening up to, I guess, different
Yeah.
consciousnesses.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you went recently, what was it, in October that you went down?
Yes, in October, I went to Peru, which was an amazing trip. I would have loved more quiet time to do that going into stillness. But what I found interesting was the shamans, they do so much ceremony for their healing practice that we were always in ceremony. I don't know if I shared this. There was one day we went to an ancient site to do an initiation. We were studying Chumpi stones. And Chumpi energy is powerful energy you call in from the universe to help heal and clear the body. And they do so much ceremony. So one day we were sitting in this sacred place. They wanted us to have our eyes closed. They were drumming. And at some point, I opened my eyes and I saw their medicine cloth. One of the men, I opened my eyes. It was a cloth of purples and greens. It was beautiful. And it was glowing gold and white. When I opened my eyes, I could see it. It was glowing. And I thought, oh my God, I better close my eyes again. When I closed my eyes, he was nearby drumming, and I could see the vibration of the drumming behind my eyes. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm seeing energy.
Mhm.
And they want to train us in seeing energy. And I began to see it. I'll see it sometimes when I'm looking at the Hudson River. I'll
Mhm.
see streams of light coming in from across the river.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is,
Right.
but it's this Chimpi energy is powerful. I guess you would say it would be like rainbows appearing. It's
Mhm.
gentle, it's very peaceful, and it's waves. It's waves of energy.
That's pretty cool.
It was very cool. It was an intense trip though.
Yeah.
No rest. There
Took you
was
some
no
time to
rest.
integrate when you got home, I'm sure.
I'm still integrating.
Yeah. I'm
I
sure.
am.
And So like, how do you mix all this together with your clients? So you're primarily a yoga teacher as your main
Yes.
income, main job or whatever.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and that's its own world, but I'm sure you blend this stuff into it somehow or another.
I try
Yeah.
to. I try to. I don't want to say I sneak it in, but I'm very direct with,
Yeah.
um, I bring in a lot of the elements of the earth
Hmm.
so that people are grounded. And there have been classes where I will have the students that I had worked with in the past were very open to new experiences. So I would bring in this element of becoming a mountain in mountain pose, and I would guide them. And they would feel the shift immediately that they were a mountain. And
Hmm.
it really does ground you, and it helps us to shift into this perspective that we are such a small speck, powerful to this planet. The energy of the mountains and lakes and rivers are very powerful for us to call on for healing.
Hmm.
So I'll bring it into yoga. And then my healing practice has shifted too, because the medicine I've learned has deepened. So we were in the Four Winds Light Body School, we were taught how to do the healings without knowing anything about the cloths that our stones were sitting on.
Hmm.
So now we've learned more about the cloths. These cloths are designed to move energy. So if you have stones on this cloth, and a stone is representing a mountain, and you have another stone that represents a very powerful healing mountain that you're asking, Karen to have healing for,
Hmm.
you can move it across the lines of the cloth, and those lines of the cloth are representative of the ley lines.
That's cool.
So
They call that radionics, I think, in energy work, like
really,
yeah, Sarah Thomas, when she was, the crystal lady,
yes,
um, she talked about that, like where basically, it's what you decide. If this circle represents your property, then it is kind of a thing. And you
yes.
can manipulate it almost like, that like an easy comparison would be like a voodoo doll, like it's a
I
surrogate,
was
you know?
right, right.
So yeah, that's the same idea. So those quilt, and they're quilted, or they're woven with such intention and deliberate. So it's like ultra powerful, especially the more you're using it. I'm sure it's like just by itself. And I know, because I know you've done those with the despacho ceremonies where we do
Yes,
the clearing with the bundle, and you could really feel it.
yes.
So
Do you know that those bundles, what do they call? I think they call it a minakwi. The tools that we use, what the shamans will do in Peru, they call them pacos, the shamans. Uh, we have to go to a body of water to cleanse them.
mhm,
So all of our tools are meant to be cleansed. So those cloths, what happens is it carries the energy that might be heavier. So when we first arrived to Peru, we brought all of our cloths, all of our tools to the water.
mhm,
We cleansed them. We had to cleanse our own body and
mhm.
almost trick the heavy energy out of the body. So if you would go counterclockwise a few times in front of the third eye, and then once clockwise to pull out that energy.
Okay.
So, and you would feel it.
Mhm,
So the cleansing of our body as well as these tools that we use was very important.
mhm.
And I know I'm due for, giving my tools a bath, but it's hard to find a private area where there's a running stream
In North Jersey,
in North Jersey, and not
and not be a
be,
spectacle. Yeah.
oh, it's totally a spectacle. You are totally. And I did it once, and I remember I was
Right
in
by
the
my work.
woods.
Right by my work.
I,
That's right.
yeah, I'm rattling. And I think I was calling in the masculine energy at that point. I was honoring them, the masculine. This is the middle of the woods. And suddenly a man was hiking right by me and walks right by. And I know those are all symbols that we pay attention to. So that was confirmation that the divine masculine had
Mhm.
heard me.
Wow.
So
That's so cool.
it's very cool. So being open to it is, we're getting messages all the time.
Yeah. And I don't know if you want to get into anything else like about what you do, like the stone, like do you the stone casting or try to explain that? Because I mean, I'm only familiar with it because of you, but I don't want to be talking above people who are listening. You know what I mean?
Okay. I guess, let's see. What I would say about the stones and stones, they call them kuyas when they become your power stones.
Mm-hmm.
And what we would do with the kuya, Puma taught us this. You're in the woods and you're walking and you see a stone. Not all stones are kuyas. Apparently, you're just drawn to it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And you ask, can you be used as a kuya? And you'll hear intuitively. And we don't want to go against that yes, you know. If it's a yes, it's a yes. So now we have a stone, and we want it to be a power stone for us. So let's say there is, not let's say, Mount Shasta. Let's say we want to work with Mount Shasta as our healing mountain. We would get quiet. We would call in Mount Shasta. And when you call in a mountain, you can begin to feel the presence of this mountain. It's a divine masculine presence. And you call it in, and then 3 times you use your breath into the stone. So it'd be, Mount Shasta, and then you would breathe in, and that out breath as you hold the stone 3 times. And now you have just programmed your stone.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's also like with crystals, you could program your stone to be
Mm-hmm.
doing the work. And the teachers like to use mountains and oceans. So I have a group of stones that are my nustas, which are the
Water.
feminine water, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And when I call in now, I can feel the presence of them. But using the stones it's not necessary, but it's a beautiful tool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then those stones are used in the healing. They may not necessarily work with the body. I guess it's intuitive what's calling to you,
Right.
but it's a very powerful tool, especially when you're going through something troubling. You call in that mountain, you have the stone with you. Mount Shasta is going to protect you.
Right.
So that's how I use the stones. There might be other ways that you use them.
Well, I remember when we did an exchange once, you had laid them all out and said, which one am I choosing to work with, kind of a thing. And then you could, I guess, interpret by which one I picked what I needed, I guess. Right.
Not necessarily in that work. See, that's different. It's very interesting because the teachers, while many of them were taught in Peru, they're different techniques.
Right.
The four winds had us work with the stones differently. So they would, if you've had a trauma in your life, you look for the gift of the trauma, which is not easy to do. So, and then you blow that gift into the stone. So let's say the gift of the trauma is innocence, which
Mm-hmm.
was something that happened with
Right.
my stone. You would blow that essence,
Mm-hmm.
innocence, into the stone, and they become your power stones. I like to work with the stones and the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
But because the four winds had a different way of doing it, I still rely on that when I do some of my healing work.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trusting what is happening with the energy that I'm calling it.
Mm-hmm.
And that energy, I guess it's similar to what Reiki would be, um, but I'm not sure. I'm
Right.
not sure.
Right.
It just completely combusts heavy energy that's around us.
Yeah.
And it affects our physical, mental, emotional too, which is pretty powerful.
And you also do like house clearings? Do you do past life work?
Yes.
And I don't know, like what's your favorite type of
I
job? to do.
I think I enjoy the channeling and the past life work.
Yeah.
And that comes in, it's been coming in more and more.
Hmm.
And I see it like a film. Yesterday, I was making some ginger turmeric tea.
Hmm.
And I stepped away. I came back down. It overflowed.
Hmm.
And I had to clean everything up. As I was cleaning it up, I had a flash of a past life with my ex and my two children. And I was quite surprised. It was that I had been poisoned by my ex for letting the turmeric tea overflow and put out the fire that we had for our family. I guess my husband had come in, he saw this, and then he later poisoned me with turmeric tea that had something in it. But I was not present to catch that because the vision was I was chasing after my children who were about to be taken by a stranger.
Hmm.
So that's why I was out. And I missed this whole thing with the turmeric tea. Now, and then I later did a little ceremony to clear that energy.
Right.
But I found, so it's very exciting when those images come through.
Yeah, I just had one. I spoke about it on the podcast episode that is being released shortly. It'll already be out there by the time this one comes out. But I saw somebody in our community as like a Puritan priest, like putting us to death, basically, us witches. So it was funny. I was just like, oh yeah, I always love when they drop in like that because you're like, it makes so much sense.
It makes a lot of sense. I did one with my friend. We were at the beach in Florida, and I said, something's up with us. I feel like we're really close friends, and I want to know, let's check this out. So what happened was I saw, she and I were working at a castle. I think I shared this with you.
I think you
We
did.
were,
I don't remember.
we were healers. We were at a festival at the castle, and a man came for a reading. We do them together. And I read very quickly that he was going to kill my partner. He saw that in my eyes.
Right.
He did kill her, and I see the whole vision. And then he later killed me. And it was an ex-boyfriend. And I said, and again, the fact that we lived in close proximity
Hmm.
is something that I pay attention to. So she said, I have to forgive him. I said, yes, you have to forgive him. So she was quiet. I saw her, she was doing her forgiveness. She said, okay. And I was about to say, watch, he's going to text. That's what happens. I didn't say anything. And I said, I'll be right back. And I went upstairs. As I was going upstairs, he texted. And I hadn't heard from him by text in, I don't know how long. It might have been a month or so. So it was a confirmation that he had received that energetic forgiveness.
Yeah.
And it happens all the time.
Right.
So now I trust it, and I kind of giggle and, move on.
And
But
oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, but she was very surprised.
Yeah, I remember that because you're like, oh, you knew it was going to happen, and it happened right away.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And you do. So Deb is also another one of the practitioners at the Rebalance Retreat, which is my,
Yes.
once or twice. I mean, right now I think it's twice a year. I don't think I'm going to do a third one. Healing retreat. No, it's not retreat. It's just a psychic fair, but I'm calling it Rebalance Retreat. But so you have like 15-minute sessions with people. And I remember like looking over and seeing people like crying and hugging. And it's like all that in 15 minutes, holy moly. Like,
Well,
and
sometimes a relative of theirs comes in and I
right. Yeah. The
channel their,
mediumship. Yeah.
yeah. It's always a surprise. It's a beautiful fair. It's a great experience to meet all these healers and a little
Mhm.
shopping and beautiful people. It's really
And it's a
amazing.
it's a good way for people to like sample different, to see who resonates and who's a good fit. So that's a good way to spread the word about the work you do and stuff like that. So
Yes, I'm getting my postcards and what is it, business
business
cards,
cards.
all of that. Yes, yes. All
Yeah.
of that's, coming in a few days. I'm excited.
Oh, good, good. I know, because it's like this is work that really lights you up. So that's part of why you're here, because on the podcast, because it's like people need to know about the work you do and to be
Yes,
connected to you. And you can do stuff remotely. You don't have to be in person necessarily, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it is very exciting to be in a period, a time where it's okay to do this. We are not,
I know.
going to be, although there is that fear still of,
Yeah.
oh no, we're going to be gathered and
I know. That's what was so crazy last week at the at that Board of Ed meeting where, I felt like, okay, this lifetime I'm not going to be killed for speaking up.
oh,
So
that's right. I had that happen too. I was teaching at addiction treatment center, and at the end of class, this was yoga, I would go over them with these little bells because it makes such a pretty noise, as sound, I should say. And as I was walking through the room, I had a vision that I was a priest walking over them with frankincense, and they had all
Ooh,
passed.
wow. Ooh, that gives me chills.
So I knew that I was coming back
And they're in
and they were coming
rehabilitation.
back.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's
Yeah,
beautiful. That's really
it
cool.
was it was very powerful, very beautiful,
Wow.
because I know that we're not in these fields randomly. We think we
Hmm.
are, but there's a thread from the past, and that's what I like to do is weave the past and the present together and kind of, fix that piece of thread that's sticking up, kind of smooth it out.
Yeah,
That's how
yeah.
I see it.
Me too. So if people wanted to find you, how can they find you?
My website is inneryogajourney.com.
Hmm.
And in there, you'll see a list of the healings that I do and a little bit about myself.
Hmm.
I guess that would be the best way. Or Yogini Deb one. What is that? Instagram?
Yeah. Yes.
But I'm
Yogini Deb,
not
and then the number one. Yeah.
number one. I'm not
You're
on
not,
that.
yeah, you don't post a bunch there, but that's the
No,
way
I
to
don't.
contact you anyway, if not through email or your website
Yes.
or whatever.
Yes, yes. That would be a great way.
Or if you're local to the North Jersey area, come and you're listening to this before March, whatever, 19th, come
Yes,
Deb
you
there.
definitely have to go. Karen hosts the most beautiful event.
Well,
It's
thanks.
really amazing.
It's fun. It's
It
good.
is. It is.
Yeah, yeah. I appreciate it. Thank you. So thank you for coming on and sharing your story and stuff. So
Thank you so much for having me. I was very excited about this. I really appreciate it.
I'm glad. We'll see you.
All right. Thank you, Karen.
Sure.